Bollocks. 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 Evening. So on this instalment we're going to have a go at pulling the back end to bits. So we're going to be, like I said, pulling the back end to bits. So obviously wheel, chain sprocket, chain guard, rear pegs, and we'll see what other unearthly treasures we'll find inside there. So we're going to start by backing the chain adjuster off. Now, unlike any video you'll see made by somebody with a lot of hair and wears orange gloves, you will find in this one we do encounter things such as corrosion. So, tickle with that, and a bit of that. Lovely. So, let's give it a bash. Lovely. Look at that. We'll back that off and we'll do the same on both sides. So there we go, I've got the chain adjusters backed off, as you can see, and I've also cracked the stub axle bolt out. So next up is we're going to unbolt the caliper. Now, if you follow the flexi along, you can see at some point I have pop riveted that to the rear hugger. So I'm going to have to get the drill out as well. So as we've got the drill now, as you can see, now I'm not going to attempt to video this and drill at the same time because I'll probably lose a finger. So bear with us. So there we go, pop rivets are now drilled out and the flexi is nice and free. So next we'll take the caliper off. Right, so 14mm on the top and 12mm on the bottom. Alright, I will admit I have cracked these up just before. Trying to change a socket with one hand. Bear with us. Right, so after some moderate swearing, as you can see I've got it out. There's a little bit of persuasion with a screwdriver, but it's out. So I'm just going to pop this over here now. I'm just going to hang it on the peg, just so I don't stress the flexi too much. There we go. And then we'll carry on with the rest of this. Right, so I've got the two screws out of the other side of the chain guard rear hugger thing. So obviously I've got these two here. Now obviously I have replaced these at some point with stainless steel Allen keys or unbolts. Wangle them out. There we go. So now, hopefully, that will pop out. There we go. Just put that down there for safekeeping. You can see what else we've got here. So I'm going to get the wheel forward a bit now, pop the chain off, and then get the rear wheel out. So you can see now I've got the wheel a little bit further forward. I've also got a nice bit of slack in the chain. So I should be able to pop this off the sprocket, and then I'm going to knock the stub axle through from the other side using a hammer and a brass drift, and probably a bit of swearing. So there we go, chain's now off. The chain is absolutely shot. I mean, obviously I was going to be replacing it anyway. There we go. So now, like I said, obviously we're going to knock the stub axle through. Right, so obviously brass drift there. Yes, it's a bit small, but it'll do fine for what I need. Just basically using a brass drift just so I don't mar the end of the bolt. Couple of love taps on the end. And then we'll pop that out the other side. So obviously there you can see the stub axle coming out, so I'm just going to get a hold of the top of the wheel and pull it out. Whoops, that wasn't meant to happen. There we go, there's the back wheel out. Lovely. Pop that on the floor there for now, because obviously we're going to be changing the disc and everything, and new bearings and what have you. Oh god, bits dropping off all over. So there we go, obviously back wheels out and all that. So we're going to be getting the chain off as well, so I'll do a video for that one. So we'll take the rear adjusters out as well, clean them up, because you can see they're all gummed up with paint, stuff like that. Obviously going to get the support bracket out, get that painted, the rear carrier. Obviously it's going to be taking the swing arm out as well. So we'll just keep going and see where we get to. Right, so we're just on taking the chain off, or splitting the chain now. A couple of different ways you can do it. You can use a grinder, you can use a chain breaker, use a drill. I'm using a drill because I can't be bothered to go and get the grinder out. You basically drill the heads off the riveted link in the chain and knock them through. So you can see where I've drilled the heads out of the rivets there, and I just gave them a quick tickle with the die grinder just to get the extra bits off, and then the riveted link just pops out, and then you can split the chain. There we go. And then we'll pull the chain off. There we go. So I'm going to take the rear peg off. I'm going to try and get the swing arm out. So we've got two 12mm here. Two arms for the next bit. So I've got the bolt out of the bottom of the swing arm that runs through the linkage. I did forget to press record on that bit, so I do apologise. So I'm just on taking the rear master cylinder out now. And so I've disconnected the switch, which is the pull type switch with a little spring on it. Sits on the bottom of the pedal, or the lever. So I've just got the 10mm in the reservoir now. Just going to take that out and remove the whole thing. So there we go, there's the rear brake assembly off. Obviously we are going to disconnect the caliper at some point, completely strip it down, replace the seals, get it looking nice. So next we're going to get the bolts out of the bottom of the shock absorber, get this linkage out so we can get the swing arm out. You can see what I've done there. I've got a little quarter drive breaker bar with a socket on, and then we've got a spanner on there. Now the bolt is exceptionally tight, so we're going to use the spanner buddy system. Excuse the mess over there as well, I've had to pull a lot of stuff out the way so I can get in. Yeah, so we're going to be using the spanner buddy system, basically how not to use a tool. Right, so now I've got the bolt that runs through the back part of the swing arm. So you can see we've got it there. I've took the 22mm nut off the end of it, and then we'll just knock that through with a brass drift again. So there we go, there's the rear swing arm out. You can see we are getting somewhere there. So we're going to get the rear shock absorber out next. So there it is there. Actually it's buried under all this gubbingery. So we'll pull all that out and we'll see what we're dealing with. So the bolt that was in the swing arm, as you can see, was quite badly corroded, so it did take a little bit to get out. But we'll clean it all up and probably be able to use this again. So we've unplugged a couple of wires and we've got this bit of bracket out the way. Just pop it over there now. So there we can see the top of the shock absorber. So we'll get this bolt out and see if we can drop it out the bottom. So I've got to employ the quarter drive ratchet for this bit, as the bolt is extremely tight. Even with copious amounts of GT85 and swearing, it's still not coming out, but we'll see what we can do with it. Okay, so we've got the top bolt out now, as you can see, so hopefully it should lift out from the bottom. And there we have it, on 1987 Honda CBR rear shock absorber and spring. Doesn't actually look in too bad condition, but we'll get a proper look at it in another video. Just taking the rest of the rear suspension linkage out. So you can see I've got the bolt out there. That was a little bit seized, but a bit of persuasion with the hammer and a bit of penetrating oil, and that's coming out quite nicely. I'm also going to take the side stand off because frankly it's pissing us off. It made us spill me coffee and it's bit us twice, so I'm going to whip that off now. So it looks like we've just got these two bolts here and this muckle spring. So we're employing the big ratchet again. It's just two 14mm. Yes, I did crack them off. A bit of China coming out there. There we go. So I'll take these out, and I'm also going to take the gear selector off now because obviously I don't want to leave it hanging on the ball joint for however long it's going to be hanging there. So we'll just whip that off. I'm just going to take off the selector at the bottom there. So it looks like we've got a 10mm and crack that off. So I'll move the coffee cup. Bit of lube, never comes in wrong. And guess what? I've lost my 10mm. Since located the 10mm, so we'll just crack that off there. Right, now before I fully take that off, because I don't know if that's actually got a master key on it, I'm going to mark it just with the die grinder. So I'll just find that. So you can see I just put a little mark on it with the die grinder, just so I've got a reference to put it back on when it goes back on, probably in about 4 years time I would have thought. So there we go, I've took the bolt out completely now, so this should, hopefully, go off. There we go. Now handily, it does actually look like it's got a master key on it, so but obviously we'll leave that mark on just as a reference anyway. So there we go, that's it for today's video. As you can see there, we've got all the back end stripped down. So next up, I think we're probably going to strip the front end, but I'll decide a little bit closer to the time. So again there, thank you for watching, and just stay tuned to the channel and listen to my subtle tones.